on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Jackowitz. This is the Kaged Review, and I said that I was going to talk spoilers for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, this movie's been out for a while. I'm coming late on a few of these movie reviews, so I really shouldn't have to worry about spoilers at this point and listing what's non-spoiler and spoiler for a couple of these. But for the sake of anybody who hasn't seen it, that's what I'm going to do. So I talked about how I absolutely love this movie. It is classic Tarantino, written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. Stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie. But it's got a hell of a cast in it. It really does. Bruce Dern, Timothy Olyphant, Dakota Fanning, Harley Quinn, Smith, Kevin Smith's daughter. So just a plethora of great talent in this movie. It does drag in certain areas, and that was a big problem that I had with it. I talked about that in the original review, that there are parts of this movie you could completely take out and it would probably be a better film for it. Things that people had mentioned that I kind of really agree with are the extended driving scenes where you're just kind of seeing Los Angeles in 1969 recreated using the actual locations, which had to cost a bundle. It looked terrific, but to be very honest, I think there was a lot of showboating there. Look at what we created, and while it was absolutely magnificent, it drug out the movie and it kind of got boring in spots. There's another scene that I kind of mentioned in the non-spoiler review where you have Margot Robbie going into the theater to watch her own movie. That whole scene could have been taken out, in my opinion. Like, you needed to have Sharon Tate in the movie. You had to have, her interacting and seeing her around town. And Rick Dalton, the character played by Leonardo DiCaprio, lives right next door to her. So you needed her in the movie, but that scene in particular, I didn't get it. I honestly didn't. It was long, and it didn't really do much to add to anything. So, a couple of problems that people had with this, obviously. Every time Quentin Tarantino does a movie, there's going to be a question over the violence, and I don't have that problem. Another problem I didn't have with this was the Bruce Lee scene. So many people were talking about the Bruce Lee scene, how it shit on his legacy. And so I'm expecting Cliff Booth, Brad Pitt's character, to literally shit all over Bruce Lee in this fight. And that wasn't the case. Bruce Lee does a jump kick, knocks Cliff Booth on his ass. Cliff Booth says, "Why don't you try that again?" So Bruce Lee does another jump kick. When you're in the air, you are at the mercy of anybody you're trying to kick. If you don't land the kick, you're going flying. And that's exactly what happened. I thought that was very common sense. Now, do I think that Bruce Lee in a real fight would lead off with that jump kick? No, I don't. And then you get into the actual fight, so you're kind of one for one at that point. And it's a lot of punches and blocks and arm bars. Very quick, fast-paced action that really, neither guy really got the better of the other guy. So, at the end of the day, I understand Bruce Lee's legacy, and I'm a huge fan of Bruce Lee. I didn't have as big a problem with this as a lot of people did. Did it make him look weaker than he probably is? Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. But at the end of the day, I'm not crying about it. The other thing that Quentin Tarantino really took liberties with was the actual events of the Manson family from the compound going to Sharon Tate's house. And apparently in real life, they actually did go to the wrong house first. And so that kind of gives you the impression that maybe they weren't the smartest people on the planet. I mean, obviously, they're going there to kill a bunch of people. But at the same time, Quentin Tarantino really made these guys look like bumbling idiots. There was 3 of them. Actually 4. And one of them apparently gets freaked out, doesn't want to go through with this, and says she left her knife in the car. So she goes, the guy gives her the keys to the car. She runs in, turns on the car, and drives away. So the other 3 are like, all right, well, we're here. We're going to finish this. And so they wind up going to the wrong house, and it's Rick Dalton's house with Cliff Booth. Rick Dalton being the actor who is aging and trying to, reestablish his name, and Cliff Booth, his stunt double, played by Brad Pitt. And Brad Pitt had just taken acid and he's high and he's drunk, and um, so these guys just come walking in the front door. One of them comes through the back, and this is where it gets ultra violent and ultra funny at the same time, because the whole time for like the next few minutes, you're thinking, oh God, you're going to kill Cliff Booth, which was a very likable character in some ways. Like, they kept talking about how he killed his wife and there was a big question mark, but I think the insinuation was that, yeah, he did. So kind of a shitty person, but made him likable because he's very personable in the movie. And then everything just erupts. Brad Pitt, he mocks the guy pointing the gun at him. He sticks his fingers like he's gonna shoot him with his finger, and then he whistles and the dog charges the guy and just starts mauling his gun arm. And another girl who had walked in through the back door starts to charge Cliff Booth, Brad Pitt, with her knife, and he takes a can of dog food and whips it at her face and just smashes her face with this can. So instantly, everything is not what you think it is. You expect, there to be this finale where it's these people doing these horrendous events, which is actually what happened in real life. But Quentin Tarantino twists it to where, no, these guys didn't know what the hell they were doing, and Cliff Booth takes care of 2 out of 3, and then the third one, the one that got hit with the can in the face, she runs out, she's screaming, I think she's got a gun or a knife in her hand, and she's waving it, and Rick Dalton is in his pool. She falls into the pool, she's swinging the knife or the gun around, whichever it was, and Rick Dalton, there was a scene earlier in the movie where he's got this flamethrower and he's using it to burn these like Nazi guys in this movie. Well, he kept the flamethrower from the movie, and he picks it up, brings it out, and torches the girl who's half out of the pool, and just like torches her face and her upper torso. So it was actually, there was a lot of really good funny moments to all of this, and definitely something that only Quentin Tarantino and honestly Brad Pitt could pull off. Brad Pitt has always had a great sense of humor, and this was nuts. This was just so fun. And then you kind of get this thing where one of the guys staying with Sharon Tate, he comes over, and he's like, what was that? What was going on? And, Rick Dalton tells him these hippie guys were coming in trying to kill him, and he wound up killing them. And he kind of made a fun of it. He's like, how is everybody? And Leonardo DiCaprio's like, yeah, we're good. The hippies aren't doing too good, but we're all right. Really funny. Really good. And so he invites them over to Sharon Tate's house. And I guess the insinuation is, because he closed the movie with Dalton and Booth meeting up with Sharon Tate and a couple other people. So I guess the insinuation is that these are the people that got killed with Sharon Tate, because that's where they kind of cut the credits, and you're left with that. And knowing what we know, you kind of guess that that's where they're going with it. So obviously he took a lot of liberties with what actually happened. You didn't get a whole lot of Charles Manson. He was kind of present in the movie a couple of times, not very long, honestly. And people were, saying how this was, about Charles Manson, the Manson family, and the murders there at Sharon Tate's house. But that wasn't really the case. The majority of this movie was a story of Rick Dalton, the actor, who's aging and realizing that he's kind of a has-been in some ways, or at least that's what he's being told, and he's kind of defying that and trying to make himself relevant again. And Cliff Booth, his stuntman, also hasn't worked a whole lot, and trying to keep work and, keeping Dalton happy and, being there for Dalton. And that's really the main story. You have the underlying theme that what's going to happen, but the majority of the movie is really just sequences in these guys' lives. And it really does not follow a true storyline the way we think of movies, like, you know, like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. I mean, it kind of has that, but it blends together quite a bit. And so it was very cool. I just wish it would have been shorter. That's my biggest gripe with this. I did have a lot of fun, especially during that last 20 minutes. It was everything you would expect for a Quentin Tarantino movie. It was just over the top in every way it could be. And I really do think this movie, while very much a drama, was very much a comedy too. Like, there were just some laugh out loud moments all the way through, to be very honest, and most of them were had by Brad Pitt. Just so damn good. This is the best I've seen Brad Pitt in a very long time, and I love Brad Pitt. Like, he is absolutely amazing to me, and just ageless too. Jesus. Leonardo DiCaprio, though, I said it before and I'll say it again, one of the best actors of our generation. The guy is phenomenal. Just makes you feel everything that he's trying to convey, and it works beautifully. The guy is ridiculously talented. So I gave this, oh god, what did I give it? So like an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10. And I stand by that. It's at least an 8 out of 10, if not an 8.5. So ladies and gentlemen, that's kind of the spoiler talk. I mean, there wasn't really a lot to get into except for those two really big things. You know, the Bruce Lee fight, everybody was talking about it. I didn't have that big of a problem with it. And then the twisting at the end I really liked. I thought it was really fun. So ladies and gentlemen, that's where I'm at with it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz. Kaged Nation, out.